Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be talking all about conservation scientists.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
I know, right? We've got all these amazing resources from RoleCatcher, and we're going to use them to help you totally ace that interview.
I think what's so cool about RoleCatcher is it's not just generic advice, right? They've analyzed thousands of real questions and answers to give you that insider edge.
It's like having a cheat sheet for your career.
Exactly.
And the best part, it's all tailored specifically to conservation scientists.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll break down what the job actually is, and then we'll dive into some of those tough interview questions you might get.
We'll even look at how RoleCatcher uses AI to help you personalize your answers and practice like a pro.
So first things first, what does a conservation scientist actually do day to day? Paint us a picture.
Okay, so imagine yourself as a guardian of the natural world.
I like it already.
Right. The RoleCatcher Career Guide describes it as managing the health and vitality of forests, parks, those amazing landscapes we all love.
So it's not just about loving nature, it's about actively protecting it.
Exactly.
What kind of tasks would that actually involve?
Well, you could be monitoring wildlife populations, doing research to understand how ecosystems work, developing strategies to deal with threats like habitat loss or climate change.
Wow.
Yeah, you could be restoring damaged areas, working with local communities on sustainable practices, even influencing big policy decisions.
That sounds incredibly diverse.
Oh, it is. It's a mix of fieldwork, research, collaboration.
So the job title is often conservation scientist, but are there other names for similar roles?
Yeah, you might also see nature conservation officer or ecologist.
Got it. So basically all these roles are about protecting our planet's natural treasures.
Yes, exactly.
And I appreciate that RoleCatcher's career guide doesn't sugarcoat things.
Right.
It acknowledges that the job can be physically demanding, long hours, sometimes in remote locations.
But hey, for someone who's passionate about conservation, that probably sounds like an adventure.
Totally. But before we send everyone off into the wilderness, let's talk about the interview itself.
Okay, this is where RoleCatcher's interview guide really shines.
I was just going to say that.
It dives deep into 9 key questions you could be asked, gives you those insights into what the interviewer is really looking for, and how to frame your answers to make a real impact.
Perfect. That's what we're here for.
Let's do it.
All right, first question. Can you tell us about your experience with conservation research projects?
This one is all about gauging your hands-on experience and your passion for conservation.
Okay, makes sense.
So don't just list projects from your resume, okay? Choose 1 or 2 experiences that really align with the specific job.
So for instance, if the job description emphasizes field research,
Yes.
you might talk about a project where you collected data on, say, endangered species.
Exactly. And instead of just saying what you did, focus on the impact.
Okay.
What were the challenges? What did you learn? How did that experience shape your understanding of conservation?
So for example, I could say something like, during my research on invasive plant species, I discovered a previously undocumented impact on native bird populations. This experience highlighted the importance of early detection and rapid response in conservation efforts.
Perfect. You've got specific details, you've demonstrated your knowledge, you've even connected it to a broader conservation principle.
Love it.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really help.
How so?
It can analyze your experience, look at the job description, and suggest which projects you should highlight.
Wow.
Yeah, it even helps you tailor your language to match the keywords and skills employers are looking for, like a personal editor for your interview answers.
That is seriously cool. Okay, it's the next question.
Question number 2. How do you stay up to date with current conservation research and practices?
Ooh, good one.
It's all about showing you're committed to continuous learning, right? Interviewers want to see that you're engaged with the latest advancements.
So should I just rattle off a bunch of journals I subscribe to?
Not quite. Well, it's good to mention specific journals or organizations,
Okay.
like the Wildlife Society or the Society for Conservation Biology. The key here is to show how you actively apply that knowledge.
I see. So I could say something like, I recently read an article in Conservation Biology about using drones for habitat mapping. I'm excited to explore how this technology could improve our monitoring efforts.
Exactly. You've shown that you're not just passively reading, but actively thinking about applications. And you've even subtly hinted at your tech skills, which is a bonus these days.
Nice. Okay, this next one feels a bit trickier. How do you approach decision-making in conservation science?
Right. This one's designed to assess your critical thinking and your ability to make informed decisions in those complex situations.
Because it's not always black and white.
No, definitely not. Conservation often involves balancing competing interests.
Right.
Interviewers want to see that you can weigh evidence, consider different perspectives, and ultimately make sound judgments.
So should I just say something generic like, I always consider all the factors?
No, definitely not. You need to give specific examples that demonstrate your process.
Give me an example.
Okay, so the RoleCatcher Career Guide talks about a pros and cons approach, which is a good starting point.
Okay,
Imagine you're developing a management plan for a protected area.
got it.
You might have to weigh the benefits of allowing public access, for recreation, against the potential impacts on sensitive wildlife habitats.
So you'd have to consider the scientific data, the economic benefits of tourism, the social and cultural values.
Precisely. And ethical considerations, like the potential for human-wildlife conflict.
Okay, this is starting to feel more concrete. How would I actually say this in an interview?
You could say, in my previous role, I was involved in a project to reintroduce a native predator. We had to carefully assess the risks and benefits, consider the prey populations, the impact on other species, the social acceptance of rewilding. We used a collaborative approach, engaging scientists, local communities, and policymakers to make sure we had a well-informed decision.
That's a great example. Shows you can think critically, weigh different priorities, and make decisions that are both scientifically sound and ethically informed.
Exactly, and it highlights the importance of collaboration, which is key in conservation.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident. But this next question is one a lot of people dread. Can you tell us about a time you had to navigate a difficult ethical situation in your conservation work?
The dreaded ethical dilemma question. This one's all about assessing your integrity, your judgment, your commitment to doing what's right.
It can be tempting to just try and dodge the question or pretend you've never made a mistake.
That's a common pitfall, but it can actually backfire.
Really?
Yeah, interviewers are more interested in how you handle challenging situations, how you learn, how you grow.
So what's the best approach?
Choose an example that demonstrates your ability to navigate ethical complexities while still upholding conservation principles. Be honest and transparent about the challenges and the decisions you made.
So for instance, if I was involved in a project that involved relocating a community to create a protected area.
That's a great example. You could talk about the ethical considerations of balancing conservation goals with the rights and well-being of those communities.
You could discuss how you engaged with the community, sought their input, and worked to minimize any negative impacts.
Exactly, and highlight the lessons you learned about social justice and community engagement in conservation.
This question really makes you think about the broader impacts of our work.
It does. It shows that conservation goes beyond science. It's about people. It's about ethics. And hey, RoleCatcher's AI can help here too.
How so?
It can analyze the job description and suggest relevant ethical dilemmas from your experience. It can even give you feedback on your response, make sure you're striking the right balance between honesty, professionalism, and that commitment to doing the right thing.
That is super valuable. Okay, on to question number 5. How do you ensure that your conservation work is inclusive and equitable?
This question reflects that growing awareness of how important diversity and inclusion are in every aspect of conservation.
I think this is one where a lot of people might struggle.
Yeah.
It's not always clear how to incorporate inclusivity and equity into scientific research or conservation practices.
You're right. It's not just about checking boxes or making symbolic gestures.
Right.
It's about actively working to break down systemic barriers, create opportunities for those who've been marginalized, make sure conservation benefits everyone, not just a select few.
I like that.
Right.
So how can we approach this question in a way that demonstrates that genuine commitment?
Okay, first, be prepared to talk about your understanding of those historical and ongoing injustices that have shaped conservation.
For example, the displacement of indigenous communities from their lands in the name of conservation.
Exactly. And then discuss concrete steps you've taken to promote inclusivity and equity in your work.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Sure, you could talk about collaborating with indigenous communities, incorporating traditional ecological knowledge into your research, mentoring students from underrepresented groups.
Or making sure your projects are accessible to people of all abilities, making sure your outreach materials are culturally sensitive, translated into different languages.
All great examples. The key is to show you're not just talking about inclusivity and equity, you're actively working to weave those values into your practice.
This question really makes you think about the social and cultural dimensions of conservation.
Absolutely. It highlights how important it is to move beyond a purely scientific view.
Okay, let's tackle another common question. Can you give an example of a successful conservation project you have led?
This is your chance to shine. Pick a project where you took the lead and achieved positive results.
So should I just dive right into a detailed description?
Not quite. While context is important, focus on your leadership and the impact you made.
Okay, so highlight the challenges, the strategies, and the results.
Exactly. And don't forget to quantify your achievements.
Good point.
So instead of we increased the population, say, we increased the population by 20% over a 5-year period. Numbers speak volumes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about RoleCatcher's AI? Can it help with this question?
Oh, for sure. It can analyze the job description and suggest projects from your experience that showcase those leadership skills and achievements the employer is looking for.
Nice.
Plus, it can help you structure your answer using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. It's a proven technique for crafting compelling stories about what you've accomplished.
Love it. Okay, I'm feeling ready to tackle anything now. But in the real world, resources are often limited. So how do we answer this? How do you prioritize conservation efforts when resources are limited?
This is a question that really gets to the heart of strategic decision-making in conservation.
Right.
It's about showing you can think critically, assess priorities, and allocate resources wisely.
I'm guessing there's no one right answer.
You're right. Every situation is different, but interviewers want to see that you have a framework for making those tough choices.
So what are some key factors to consider when prioritizing?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide outlines a few important criteria: the severity of the threat, the ecological significance of the species or ecosystem, the feasibility of intervening, the cost-effectiveness of different strategies, and the potential for long-term success.
Sounds like it's all about finding that sweet spot between urgency, impact, and what's actually doable.
Exactly. And don't forget stakeholder engagement. You can't make these decisions in a vacuum.
You're right. You need to involve scientists, communities, policymakers, funding agencies.
Exactly. Get everyone on board.
How would you recommend articulating that in an interview?
You could say something like, when faced with limited resources, I prioritize projects based on scientific evidence, stakeholder input, and a realistic assessment of what we can actually achieve. For example, in a recent project, we had to choose between focusing on habitat restoration for a critically endangered species or a broader education program to reduce human-wildlife conflict. While both were important, we ultimately chose the habitat restoration because it was a more immediate threat and had a higher likelihood of success given our limited resources. But we recognized the importance of community engagement and secured separate funding for a smaller education program to run alongside it.
That's fantastic. It clearly shows strategic thinking, weighing priorities, and making tough choices while striving for that holistic approach.
And it shows your commitment to transparency and accountability.
Great. Okay, next question is particularly relevant for aspiring conservation leaders. Can you discuss your experience with developing and implementing conservation policies?
This one's designed to assess your understanding of the policy landscape and your ability to influence change at a broader level.
Even if we haven't worked directly in policy development, we can still talk about it.
Of course. Think about any experience you have with engaging with policymakers, advocating for conservation initiatives, or contributing to research that informed policy decisions.
So, like, if I worked on a research project that led to a local government protecting a critical habitat area.
Exactly. Or if you were part of a community group that successfully lobbied for tougher regulations on pollution or habitat destruction.
And even if I have limited experience, I can still express enthusiasm and a willingness to learn.
Absolutely. You could say something like, while my policy experience has been limited so far, I'm eager to learn more in this area. I believe effective conservation requires a multifaceted approach, and influencing policy is a crucial part of that.
That shows initiative, which interviewers always love.
Right. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you identify relevant policy experience and tailor your answer to the job.
Okay, last question in this set. How do you integrate traditional ecological knowledge into your conservation work?
This question reflects the growing recognition of the value of indigenous knowledge systems in conservation. Interviewers want to see that you understand and respect these systems and are open to learning from and collaborating with indigenous communities.
I think a lot of conservationists might feel unsure about how to approach this authentically and respectfully.
You're right. It's really important to avoid those tokenistic gestures or appropriating indigenous knowledge for your own gain. Approach it with humility and a genuine desire to learn.
So how can we show that in an interview?
Be honest about your experience level. If you haven't had the chance to work directly with indigenous communities, acknowledge that, but then express your willingness to learn and collaborate.
Okay, so I could say, while I haven't had direct experience working with indigenous communities, I recognize the immense value of traditional ecological knowledge. I'm committed to seeking out opportunities to learn from Indigenous experts and incorporate their insights into my practice.
That's a great start. If you have had the privilege of working with these communities, be specific about how you approach the collaboration.
Got it.
Talk about building trust, the protocols you followed, the lessons you learned from elders or knowledge holders.
It's all about that two-way exchange of knowledge, right?
Exactly. Highlight how Indigenous knowledge informed your work and how you, in turn, contributed to the community's goals.
It sounds like a continuous journey, more than a destination.
It is, and it requires constant reflection, self-awareness, and being willing to challenge your own assumptions.
We've covered some pretty tough questions so far, but don't worry, we're not done yet.
Ugh.
When we come back, we'll explore those different career stages of a conservation scientist and how RoleCatcher can help you map out your path to success.
Can't wait.
See you in part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about how to nail that interview.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture? Like, where does a conservation scientist actually fit into the whole world of conservation?
Well, RoleCatcher's Career Guide does a really great job of laying out those different career stages, from entry level all the way up to leading those big conservation initiatives.
I love that. It's not just about getting the job, but like understanding where it can lead.
Exactly.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
You're fresh out of school. You're ready to make a difference.
Yeah.
What's it like being an entry-level conservation scientist?
Picture this. Boots on the ground, collecting data in the field,
Okay.
maybe monitoring wildlife, assessing habitat health. You're building those core skills, learning from more experienced scientists.
So it's not all glamorous, but you're gaining that hands-on experience.
Absolutely. It's a crucial time.
What kind of responsibilities would you typically have at that stage?
Well, according to the career guide, you could be assisting with field surveys, collecting and analyzing data, preparing reports, maybe even doing some public education about conservation.
And I imagine there's a lot of learning on the job, adapting to different environments, problem solving in real time.
Oh, for sure. It's a time to soak it all up, develop those technical skills and really show your dedication.
RoleCatcher even provides a sample profile for this stage. It's like a little snapshot of what you might say in an interview.
Oh, cool.
It says, I'm eager to contribute my skills to a team of dedicated conservation professionals. My experience conducting field surveys and analyzing ecological data has prepared me to make a meaningful impact.
It's like they're helping you write your own story,
I love that.
It's really cool.
Okay, so you've put in the work, you've honed those skills,
Yeah.
you're ready for the next step. What does it look like for a junior conservation scientist?
Okay, so now you're taking on more responsibility. Maybe leading field teams, contributing more to the design and implementation of those conservation strategies.
So you're not just doing the work, you're starting to guide others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might even be supervising interns or volunteers, sharing your knowledge, mentoring the next generation of conservationists.
What kind of projects would you be involved in at this level?
You could be developing habitat restoration plans, doing research to assess how effective different conservation interventions are, working with communities on sustainable land management practices.
It's like bridging that gap between the research and the real-world action.
Precisely. And communication skills become even more important at this stage.
Right.
You might be presenting your research at conferences, writing grant proposals, working with stakeholders to build support for your initiatives.
And RoleCatcher provides an example profile for this stage too, right?
They do.
It says, with a strong foundation in conservation research and project management, I'm passionate about developing innovative solutions to complex environmental challenges. I excel at leading teams, analyzing data, and communicating scientific findings to diverse audiences.
You can really see how your focus shifts from gaining that initial experience to really leading projects and making a tangible impact.
So cool.
Yeah.
All right, you've proven yourself. You're a seasoned conservationist. What's next?
Okay, the career guide then highlights the mid-level conservation scientist. Now you're leading even larger scale projects, overseeing whole research programs, and having more influence on conservation policy and decision making.
Wow, so you're moving into a more strategic role.
Exactly.
What kind of expertise would you need at this level?
You need expertise in a particular ecosystem or conservation issue, a deep understanding of conservation policy and funding mechanisms, and strong leadership and communication skills, of course.
You might be managing budgets, developing those partnerships, maybe even testifying before government committees to advocate for conservation priorities.
You got it. And at this stage, you're also mentoring and supporting those junior scientists.
Yeah, giving back.
Right, contributing to the growth of the entire conservation community.
And I bet RoleCatcher has another example profile.
Of course.
Let's hear it.
My passion for conservation drives me to seek innovative solutions and foster collaboration among diverse stakeholders. I leverage my expertise in you'd fill in your specific area to develop and implement effective conservation strategies. I'm dedicated to mentoring junior scientists and empowering the next generation of conservation leaders.
Wow, you can really see how your influence grows as you gain more experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've climbed the ladder. We're at the top.
Yeah.
What does it take to become a senior conservation scientist?
This is where all that vision, leadership, and a wealth of experience really come together. You're directing those large-scale programs, influencing national or even international policy, guiding the future of the whole field.
Wow, so you're not just working on projects, you're shaping the whole landscape of conservation.
Right.
What kind of responsibilities might you have at this level?
You could be leading multidisciplinary teams, developing long-term conservation plans, securing those major funding grants, publishing groundbreaking research, representing your organization globally.
You might be advising governments on environmental policy, collaborating with international organizations, or even serving on the board of a major conservation NGO.
Exactly. And at this stage, you're not just a scientist anymore. You're a thought leader, an advocate, an inspiration.
And I'm sure RoleCatcher has a perfect example profile for this too.
Of course they do.
What does it say?
It says, with decades of experience in conservation science and a proven track record of success, I'm dedicated to finding innovative solutions to the most pressing environmental challenges facing our planet. I lead a team of talented scientists, build partnerships across sectors, and advocate for evidence-based policies that protect our natural heritage for future generations.
That is so inspiring.
It is.
What I love about RoleCatcher is that it doesn't just describe these stages, it actually gives you resources to help you achieve them.
Oh, absolutely.
The career guide mentions advancement paths and continuous learning tips,
Right.
emphasizing professional development, networking, staying at the cutting edge of conservation science.
Yeah. They even mention specific certifications you can pursue, like the Wildlife Society Certified Wildlife Biologist or the Society of American Foresters Certified Forester. It's like having a personalized career coach.
Seriously. And their AI can help you figure out the skills and experience you need for the next level, even suggest relevant courses or training programs.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored the role, the interview, even the career trajectory. But before we wrap up, let's talk about one of my favorite things about RoleCatcher.
What's that?
Those AI-powered tools that can seriously help you in your job search.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really cool.
Imagine a tool that can help you tailor your resume and cover letter to each job description,
Oh, I love that.
so you have a better chance of getting noticed.
Right.
That's what RoleCatcher's AI does.
It's amazing.
It analyzes those postings, figures out the keywords and skills, and helps you optimize your application to make it stand out.
It's like a secret weapon.
I know. And don't forget the Get Discovered feature. You opt in, and employers who are looking for your skills can actually find you.
It's like you're in control, you know?
Yeah. And while there's a free version, RoleCatcher's Copilot AI subscription takes it to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah.
Think AI-powered tailoring for your resume and cover letter, optimized application answers, even personalized guidance for those tough interview questions.
Yeah.
It's like having a career coach and a marketing team all in one.
That's pretty incredible.
I know. And let's not forget the massive knowledge base RoleCatcher provides. Over 3,000 career guides, 14,000 online resources, 120,000 practice interview questions.
It's like a whole library for your career.
I know, right? And all of this, from interview prep to career advancement, is there to help you navigate the world of conservation and make a real difference.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly. We've really dug deep into the world of conservation scientists today.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about the role itself, how to answer those tough interview questions, and even mapped out those different career paths.
And we saw how RoleCatcher can be such a valuable tool
Right.
with all those insights and guidance and even the AI to help you land that dream job and move up in your conservation career.
But it's not just about absorbing all this info.
Right. No, definitely not.
It's about taking action and putting it to work to help the planet.
Exactly. And if you're feeling all inspired after today, don't let that feeling fade away.
Absolutely.
The future of conservation really depends on people like you who are passionate and ready to step up and make a difference.
Speaking of making a difference, one thing that really stood out to me in RoleCatcher's career guide was the part about conservation scientists working internationally.
Oh, yeah. Conservation doesn't stop at any borders, right?
Right.
A lot of conservation organizations work all over the globe, tackling those huge environmental challenges that are facing our planet.
So imagine this.
Okay.
You're working in the Amazon rainforest, studying endangered species in the Galapagos Islands, helping restore coral reefs in the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow.
The possibilities are seriously global.
It's true. A career in conservation can take you to some of the most amazing places on Earth.
That's a big adventure.
It is.
And you'd be working with all these dedicated people from around the world.
Right. All united by that passion for protecting the planet.
It just shows how connected we all are.
Yeah.
And that these challenges we're facing need everyone to work together and come up with creative solutions.
Absolutely. So if you're ready for that adventure,
Yeah.
don't wait. Go to the RoleCatcher website, explore their resources, and start building that conservation toolkit of yours. It's free to sign up.
Right.
And you'll have access to all this info and tools to help you turn those conservation dreams into reality.
It's like having a personal career coach, a global conservation network, and a treasure map all in one.
That's a great way to put it.
I know, right?
So what are you waiting for? Take that first step. Let RoleCatcher be your guide on this incredible journey to protect our planet. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay passionate, and keep exploring the amazing world of conservation.
See you next time.